America, land of the free, home of the gun burger. Now that's some high caliber beef. In my previous Americans Are Weird video, we talked about things on the cultural side, like wearing shoes inside and eating big old burgers everywhere. But we only just scratched the surface. This time around, the little bitty baby gloves are coming off. We're talking about the hard-hitting stuff that people across the world want to know about. We're talking about our second serving of Trump over here. We're talking about healthcare. We're going to be talking about tipping, and some countries even considering America as underdeveloped, though we're hitting it all in this one. We're also going to be reviewing some of the controversies that came out of the last video. The shoes inside conversation somehow turned into a wiping your butt forwards or backwards situation. We will talk about it. It gets weird. It gets weird. That's just how we do it over here, all right? Americans are weird, and we like it that way. So let's find out what the world really thinks about us Americans before we get swooped up by a giant bald eagle. I'm just kidding. That doesn't happen in America. All right, I want to kick this thing off by exploring one of the controversies that arose from my last video, talking about why Americans are weird, okay? So I had posted on TikTok just a little video discussing shoes in or off in the house, okay? A conversation I knew was going to be controversial right off the bat, okay? Just everybody's got opinions on it, but I didn't think that it was going to go where it ended up going. And now we've got something new to talk about. So I had mentioned in the post, you know, shoes on or off in the house. It's controversial. And somebody in the comments said it's almost as controversial as standing versus sitting while wiping, which caused Meridia's beacon to appear, okay? And if you're a Skyrim fan like me, I gotta just do a quick dork thing real quick. Meridia's beacon is just like this object you find in like a random chest, and then you are taken into the sky to talk to some light lady, and yeah, it's some dorky thing. But just the fact that Meridia's beacon is popping into the chat here, give me a good chuckle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but like sometimes on TikTok, like lots of people will have random names of just like, I don't know, I'll get like the devil or just something. Like you'd be like, oh cool, the devil's commenting on my thing. So Meridia's beacon being in here was like kind of funny for me. But anyway, Meridia's beacon enters the chat and says, "I'm sorry, standing while wiping?" The commenter replies, "Hey, I don't do it, but I remember being potty trained was super confusing because my dad stands up and my mom sits, just wipe till like 8. The grammar I can't get past, but also, I don't know, how do you know what your dad and mom do, standing, I don't know, man. I don't know. So anyway, the response, another person chimes in saying, "Sitting just doesn't work for me, man. My body just doesn't work that way." So I chime in and just, okay, I think we have a new controversial debate to explore here. Meridia, no, there's no debate. Standing is diabolical. And then I have to respond to the little Skyrim lore. I get a little dorky here, guys. And I have to say Meridia's beacon responds. Like, if you're a Skyrim fan, you're going to appreciate this. If you're not, you're just going to think I'm a loser. But whatever, I don't care. So I say, well, if the nines will it, I'm just glad this is how my interaction with Meridia's beacon is going. Skyrim got this shit all wrong. I can't not do the accent. I just can't. And Meridia's beacon genius reply, "Oh, a new hand touches the beacon. My temple, whatever. Want a sword?" All right, I just had to get that out of the way. I don't know if you could tell here, but I'm kind of a dork. I don't know if anything gave it away, but I'm a little bit dorky. So, I don't know. I guess I'm just a quirky guy. Please subscribe. Look at how I'm behaving. This is not right. I need help. All right, now I want to take a look at some of the comments that lead to this new video, right? And what non-Americans find weird about America. So let's kick it off with this first comment that says, "The weirdest thing to me is how the same species capable of the same intelligence as the rest of us voluntarily voting for a second serving of Trump. And as stereotypically gluttonous Americans, we did go for a second serving as usual, and now our tummy hurts like shit." Yeah, I don't know. It's too depressing to think about how that actually happened and why we're eating that second serving. So I have no explanation for it. It's very disappointing. Okay, this next comment from this Norwegian fella is going to be like half or most of this video because he hits upon like every single thing. So we're going to go through it and we're going to read the comment. We're just going to go beat by beat here. So this guy says, "Hi, I'm Norwegian." Wait. "Hey, Norwegian, I'm Dad. Never miss an opportunity for a dad joke. That was close. Hi, I'm Norwegian, so I know that some cultures definitively stand out from others. A few points that I've noticed about the US of A that feel strange to me are the insanity of lobbyism in politics. So yeah, I think that's really interesting to hear somebody from outside the USA just being like, yeah, I see the lobbying in politics and it's crazy from the outside. To see how much money is involved in politics. You know, Congress members can have stocks and companies and things like that. Yeah, it's a capitalist hellscape, so it goes hand in hand with that concept. So lobbying and politics, unfortunately, are very best friends here in America, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. He goes on to say the lack of universal health care, despite paying enough taxes for it to be feasible. And yeah, I mean, universal healthcare, absolutely a feasible thing. And, you know, healthcare is a human right. Everybody should have it. And I'm glad to hear other people around the world saying, you know, that is a thing that should be happening. Like, quality of care doesn't have to go down just because everybody has access to it, right? There's a way to make these things work without, you know, damning a bunch of people. It's why I saw so much support from Mario's brother a few months ago, right? I mean, people are absolutely destroyed by healthcare in this country. And, you know, I think like the concept of going into debt because of medical purposes is pretty foreign to other countries. When they see that, you know, it's kind of questionable. And I feel like, you know, since I've expanded, you know, being on the internet a little bit more than I used to be now, I've been able to talk to a lot of people globally, and I find it very revealing, right? Like, I think as Americans, we've been sold a certain bill of goods on which countries are acting certain ways, right? Who our friends and enemies are. And I think at the end of the day, I've, you know, more and more as I've grown, have realized citizens of every country, every citizen, every like person who's a non-state person pretty much wants the same thing out of life, right? We want to have a family, we want to be happy, we want to be healthy, and we just, you know, we want to exist and not go through much trouble. So talking to more people who are just citizens of other countries has, you know, made me more realizing that, oh, you know, we should have things like universal healthcare. We should be more global. We should be interacting with people in peace, because that's really what the citizens want. That's what we want, you know, on the lower rungs or whatever. But the people on the lower rungs, we're the majority, right? So really what we want is what should be happening. And especially if it's, you know, peace, you know, peaceful things like healthcare for everybody. It is a right. It's a human right. So it should be free. Then he brings up the effectively two-party system, and yeah, it's absolutely a two-party system. Not even effectively. It is a two-party system. But understanding now how much the world knows about how our politics work, I'm kind of interested in finding out how other politics systems work in other countries, just to get a better understanding of, you know, what are the actual formats of life that are out there, like what are the actual guidelines that are being put out, ways of life, and like what is actually working the best. Because as Americans, I think we're often told that what happens here is the best, America's the best, America number one, right? I mean, that's obviously the thing that goes around all the time. But, you know, we live in a world where you don't get by. Nothing happens with one person, right? Like, it's always a team, and the world is the same way. We can't exist in the world without interacting globally with our fellow, you know, brothers and sisters from across the globe. And we all pretty much want the same thing. So I don't know. Yeah, I think this all kind of ties back. The two-party system is not necessarily in our best interest, or at least the people that end up being the representatives of those systems are not within our best interests, right? Even if they claim to be. So yeah, a lot of problems with the political situation over here. Next, our Norwegian friend says, friggin' insurance and how much they do not insure you. Come on, man. Beautiful. Well said. Beautifully stated. Insurance is the biggest scam this country's got going, like big time. I don't know. Do you guys feel that? I never have felt like, oh, my insurance is definitely is like covering what it's worth. We pay in for years and years and years. Car insurance, home insurance, you know, medical insurance, all this stuff. Half the stuff doesn't get covered. When stuff does get covered, it's like not all the way. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I kind of hate the insurance situation around here. How do you guys feel about it? But I find it so interesting that like people from like, I have no clue how insurance works in other countries, right? Like maybe that's just my American ignorance. That could just be my American ignorance. I don't know, but I have no clue how insurance works in other countries. But every country seems to know like our insurance is poop. So why is that? I mean, it is poop. Is it just that visibly poop? Like, what's the other insurance situations going on, guys? Please tell us. We're trying to dig ourselves out of a hole in America over here a little bit. So if you got any tips for us, please let us know. We want to be done with the whole like dumb American thing. Let us know what we're missing out on, please. Next, he says, how the news media have no apparent middle ground. Like, why do you have to be pro or anti everything? I mean, yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, the cable network television, like news networks are, yeah, absolute garbage, trash. I don't even like, I don't know. There's so much to get into with that stuff. But yeah, television news will not inform you of what's going on. It's good to have access and to see what's going on those, but you can't take your news from the television sources here in America and then just run with that. You do need to get multiple sources of information to come to any type of conclusion. That I agree with 100%. You know, me personally, I'm left-leaning, but I absolutely check in on every source that I can to see what's going on. You know, it's good to hear because now I know what some people that are claiming to be in the middle are saying, right? I can see on Fox News what is being said on the right. Okay, I can see on CNN what liberals are saying to, you know, center right or, you know, centrist kind of stuff is saying. And, you know, I can go on the internet and get lefty stuff and understand where their biases lie and, you know, come to my own conclusions on what is the best way to approach life as far as I see it, because I'm a very collaborative person. I'm a very peaceful person. You know, I believe that we live in a world with an abundance of resources and we could theoretically everyone could just be living nicely, you know. That could be a world we live in, but I'm also a dummy. I don't know how to possibly begin starting that sort of a thing. I don't know. I'm trying my best here. We all are. He says ridiculous amounts of patriotism. America. Yeah, there are lots of people that live in this country that are horny for the flag. You know, I don't quite understand. You know, a country is not necessarily what makes its citizens great. Its citizens make a country great. So, like, flags are cool. I don't have a problem with flags. You know, American flag is cool. You can fly it. You know, it's not like I see an American flag and I go like, it's bad stuff. No, like, you know, I like an American flag. That's fine. But there does come a point where it sort of feels like there is a blind patriotism that we've been, you know, quite fed growing up. You know, I remember being in elementary school, you know, you do the Pledge of Allegiance, hand over your heart and all that stuff. You know, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Do I really need to pledge my allegiance to the country every day? But I also don't think like people that are patriotic are necessarily coming from a bad place or anything like that. I think actually most people that are patriotic are coming from a good place. But you know, it sometimes can blind us to certain realities of our country and our situation. So it's just kind of something to keep a tab on there. This is a good one. This is going to ruffle feathers. He says, how you claim to be Italian, Scottish, or whatever, even though your grandparents were born and raised in the U.S. All right, I'm guilty. Guilty as charged, man. I'm Italian American. I say it all the time. But I also, like, I don't say I'm Italian because, like, Italian culture and Italian American culture, very different, right? But there is an Italian American culture for sure. So I do understand why people, you know, kind of identify with nationality when, you know, maybe their grandparents were born in America. My grandparents were born in America. Their parents were born in Italy. You know, I don't know what the generational line is that gives you enough Italian red sauce in your blood to allow you to say you're Italian, but I certainly identify as Italian American. And again, it's just a different culture, right? Much mortadella, come on. We're doing different stuff with it, gabagool, okay? We've taken it, we've bastardized it in our own special American way, and it's kind of become its own thing. And I love Italian American culture, all right? I'm Italian American boy. I will always rock my Italian American pride, okay? You cannot take that away from me. But I get what you're saying. Next, he says, how you claim to be the country with the most freedom, but in most international indexes, you don't even crack top 10. Now, that's interesting. I really actually don't know anything about this, so I'm not going to comment on it too much or anything. But if you guys know anything about this, I would like to hear about it. There are certainly problems with the freedoms we have here. And there's certainly an issue that's prevalent throughout time and still going on today involving human rights being given to every citizen of America. You know, I think we still have an issue kind of making sure that everybody has the same rights as every other human. But I don't know much about the international index, and I don't know about this top 10 thing. So if you guys know anything about that, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear and learn a little more about this. Next, tipping culture. Just pay your employees, man. And yeah, I agree with that, right? I think tipping culture is weird. It's not only burdensome on the customer, right? But like it just feels very, I don't know, it feels dirty, right? Like nobody should be in a position where they could potentially be working for almost nothing, right? A tip is optional unless it's like mandatorily added to a bill. Some places will do that, but otherwise a tip is optional. So I just feel like it's like not cool at all to pay somebody a wage that is like nothing and have the customer cover the cost of that employee's wage. It's just not right. Every job opportunity should provide you the chance to live comfortably. All right. That's just the way it should be. You know, I don't know why we have the sort of tipping culture that we do. But I do think, yeah, it's probably not the best thing in the world. But, you know, I'm not somebody who lives off of tips. I would be interested in knowing what other people think. If you get paid off of tips, let me know what you think in the comments below. Next, the over-the-top personalities. He says, you mentioned how big everything is, but forgot to mention how big and artificial personalities people seem to have. Now, this one, I both agree and disagree with. Yeah, I mean, like, we have tons of big personalities over here. Look at the president and stuff. It's... yeah, it could be a bad thing. But at the same time, I do feel like there's, you know, a freedom of a certain type of expression that has allowed Americans to sort of take who they are and live in some ways truer to themselves. And, you know, that might be in danger right now. I think being who you are and having a big personality, if you have a big personality, is a great thing. I think you should do that. I think people across the world should do that. Be comfortable with who you are and be proud to be who you are. Because from what I know, I've met tons of people in my life. I'm very fortunate to know a very diverse array of people, and I've worked with a very diverse array of people. And my favorite people in this world are the people who are unabashedly themselves. And they have influenced me and helped me become unabashedly myself too. And I think that's the most powerful thing that you can have within yourself. It will help guide you to the truths that you seek, especially for your own values and morals, right? So having a big personality, I don't think is a bad thing. Now, if you're harming other people, if you have like a Donald Trump personality that includes stripping people of their rights and hurting them, that's bad. But that's a different thing. And I think when it comes to, you know, big personalities, you know, you gotta love who you are, embrace who you are, and be who you are. So, you know, that's my corny message there. Do with that what you will. Eat some corn on that one.
Maze.
So our fine Norwegian friend caps it off by saying, I do find the US to be generally an interesting place, but it seems that most of us who grew up looking over the pond in admiration are now looking over in disgust or disappointment. Our last prime minister actually called the US out on being underdeveloped and or very unsafe to travel, mostly because of how healthcare is handled, but also the severe amount of violent crimes happening all the time. So I don't necessarily agree with the violent crime part of that. I think, you know, violent crimes are generally going down. I think that's sort of a misconception, but I do agree with some of that infrastructure stuff. You know, we have bridges, trains, roadways, railways that are in dire need of repair. We don't have like high-speed train, anything like that, that a lot of these other countries have that give them an infrastructure that helps people get around and creates an overall better living experience for people. So I thought that hearing this guy's point of view was very interesting. I'm happy he commented. Okay, just a few funny responses from the last video about Americans being weird, okay? In response to talking about the big ass gaps in toilet stalls. One person said, when I was in elementary school, I would use the stall and then crawl out of the bottom, keeping it locked. I have no clue why I did this, but it was with the intention to annoy. Like, reason enough alone that we shouldn't be doing that. Like, do not make the janitors crawl under the toilets because we're just little punks. Like, that's maniacal. That's maniacal school stuff. And I can't say I would be above doing something like that, but man, that's rough. Another comment about the large gaps in bathroom stalls says, it's f***ing weird. We don't need to connect eyes while I'm popping a squat. But I will say none of these things are nearly as weird as the VR chat predator sting that I saw the other day. Boom, plugged you should go watch it. Or you should watch that video, YouTube thinks you'll like it. Subscribe over here if you know it's good for you. I've been Hellion.Vision, thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'm proud to say that I've gained the trust of our eagle friends and now use them as transportation. Feather buns!